Welcome everyone to Chat with Sandy and Karen. I'm Karen Jackson, and my partner in crime is
Sandy Bansal.
And our guest today is Miko Wagstaff. I am so excited. She's from. This is kind of a semi reunion. I have my
Nice.
Sweden 17 sweatshirt on. That's where we all met. So welcome, Miko, and what would you like to chat about today?
Well, I wanted to, I guess, just kind of start chatting about instructional coaching, specifically with ed tech, and just how important that is in these times and just in general.
Right. Excellent. Well, I'm glad that we're going to talk about that because, one week we're remote and 1 week we're face to face and socially distanced, and 1 week we're halfway hybrid, and it's changing so fast and so often. Just the world is crazy.
Yes.
But now you're in.
Yeah, I mean it is.
Say again, Sandy.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was going to say now you're in the sunny part of the USA.
Yes. On the East Coast, the weather is, not that bad. But, the weather still affects us down here. So I know just this past week, a lot of the schools actually had to go remote because of the weather that was coming in. So like, Karen said, one day you're face to face, the other day you're remote, and, everything just keeps going back and forth. So it's a really challenging time for teachers right now.
What's Sweden? What's happening in Sweden now?
I don't know.
The usual. No snowpocalypse or any terrible events or tsunamis or anything?
No, we went walking on the lakes. That was fun. So we had -15 a week ago, and now we're on +2 or 3 now. That's in Celsius.
Oh wow!
So yeah, the snow is melting. Thank God.
Looks like you have sun.
Yeah. So Miko, with me and Karen, when we started this, it was dark.
Oh,
it was dark, and now we're gonna probably have margaritas in a month or so.
Hey, nice! You need to invite me back for that. Yes. I'm actually looking forward to the warmer weather. It's been so challenging, with it being cold. We all have to be stuck inside, so it's definitely going to be nice to have some warmer weather and, feel like, we have a life again.
Right. Well, before we get into the ed tech coaching, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history and education. What have you been doing, and what are you thinking?
Okay, awesome. Well, just to reintroduce myself, my name is Miko Wagstaff, and I have been in education since 2003. I actually came out of the private sector. I was actually an engineer prior to coming into education. So that was an interesting transition, but actually an easy transition, because since I was an engineer, I already had like a math and science background. So it was kind of easy to transition into education. So I actually started out as a 7th grade math teacher in middle school. So that was very, very interesting because I had not been in the classroom since I had graduated. And so I'm thinking back to like my first day, and it was just, I don't know, it was very surreal to just, be back in the classroom. But from a different, perspective. And I had really no experience teaching. So it was very interesting to just kind of be thrown in. It was definitely trial by fire. I, I think back to the first group of students, and I did the best that I could, but hindsight being 2020, I hope they're doing okay now.
Exactly. I'm hoping and praying for my first students too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, that was definitely very interesting. But I definitely fell in love with it instantly. Just bringing in, all of my experience from engineering, and just thinking how important math was, for me to become an engineer, and also thinking about how when I was an engineer, the lack of females and minorities that are engineers. So in the back of my mind, I always thought, if I could, reach more girls, reach more minorities, that hopefully, I can, kind of instill in them the love for math, so that they would maybe later on, decide to go into, what we now call the STEM fields.
Yeah.
So that was really kind of like my, hidden mission, as an educator, because I know how alone I felt when I was in engineering. Lots of times I was a double minority. I was the only female and also, the only minority. So I definitely felt like, I needed to see, more female faces, more brown faces, out there in the engineering field. So that was definitely, like I said, like a hidden mission, for me when I was, teaching math. But just moving along, about 6 years ago, I attended a technology conference in Austin. Karen, you may be well familiar with that one, which is TCA. And I was just so amazed by the fact that they were encouraging the use of technology in the classroom, and giving all of these strategies and tools that you could use and bring in the classroom. And I knew as a math teacher it would be difficult, but I also felt like it was something that that I could do. So I just, I think I was like a kid in a candy store, just soaking it all in, just trying to, gather as much information and knowledge as I could at that technology conference. And so when I got back to school, I was just, ready to hit the ground running. And so immediately I started, training other teachers on all of the tools that I had learned, when I was at the conference. And that actually turned into then me coaching other teachers on campus, especially like the math teachers, and how to, effectively use technology in the classroom. And that was like a huge turning point for me. And that, really has led me to kind of where I'm at today. So currently I work at Kennesaw State University in Kennesaw, Georgia, in the iTeach department. And our goal is to assist districts, big or small, it really doesn't matter the size, and even, districts outside of the state of Georgia, just to help them with personalized learning strategies, so that we can engage the students, so that we can improve student success. And, with COVID, kind of in the era of COVID, that goal has definitely increased even further, because, once teachers were thrusted into remote learning and really had been forced to use the technology, the need for coaching just became that much greater. And so I love that, I was already in the role where I could, service and support teachers, as they're going through, this new challenge, and, trying to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to do this? The traditional ways aren't necessarily going to work, especially if I need to be face to face. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And then just on a personal note, I have one son, and he's a ballet dancer with Richmond Ballet. And we are extremely proud of him right now because, the arts are actually being hit very hard with the pandemic because a lot, their whole model is face-to-face live performances. And so they're having to adjust and figure out, how they're going to move forward in this new era where you can't pack, a theater with people. So again, very proud of myself, persevering, in his passion and what he's wanted to do pretty much all his life. I'm also, married to my husband. We've been married, over 25 years. We travel now because of the remote situation. It has afforded me the opportunity to be able to travel and to still be able to, work and coach teachers remote. One of the side projects or, passion projects, side hustle, if you will, that we have is we actually have a YouTube channel that's called Wander Open Roads, and it's our travel out, in nature. We do campground reviews, state park reviews, and we also have a motorcycle. So we vlog our motorcycle rides. So that has actually been like a fun thing that my husband and I get to do together. So we're actually, really enjoying sharing our travel journey with everybody on YouTube. So that's been pretty awesome.
Wow, reliving the old days.
That's
I need
cool.
my kids out of the house.
Yes.
How fun is that? Yeah, I just
Yes.
subscribed. Everyone, make sure you subscribe to Wander Open Roads on the YouTube channel. Great little clips that I was checking out earlier. Looks like fun and reviews, and you do reviews of things, and we got to see a little tour of your camper or your motorhome. Pretty cool.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, so I have to ask, what's your favorite part of the USA? You don't have to say Texas,
I think my favorite part is honestly like the North Georgia, South kind of North Carolina area with all of the mountains. I just love all the trees and especially riding like through the mountains, camping in the mountains, waking up to the fresh air. I think that's my favorite part. I mean, I think the beach would probably be a close second. So then I would say Florida. But I do love the East Coast, but I'm really looking forward to going out west. I think we're going to do that next year and just, checking out that part of the country.
Oh man, that's great. So so you're working from home, your mobile home.
Yes. Yes.
How do you stay connected? Because I imagine that is a high priority on where you plan to be at certain times, is you have to be connected to do your job.
Yes. And I mean, it's been, it's taken a lot of research. I watch a lot of YouTube videos from other nomads, working nomads, of how to stay connected on the road. And one strategy that my husband and I have figured out is we use our hotspots on our phones a lot. And that helps us to, be able to connect. And so we do have like a 2-carrier home. So like we have Verizon and AT&T. And so depending on where we are, one will be better than the other. And so that helps us to be able to, connect, so that I can work because I still have to, be able to support my teachers. But it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be because at the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, we sheltered in place just like everybody else. And work was, really, really busy. I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was one meeting after another because the teachers needed so much support basically all at once. So it was, a challenge. It was, a lot of missed lunches, a lot of, staying up at night, preparing, finding resources for teachers. So, it was a lot. But, as things kind of opened up, we also realized that, I could do this from the road. So we did, decide to kind of throw in some travel, and it's been fine. I'm able to, get on my Teams meets and my Google meets and, coach my teachers. And I'm also, because I have a lot of teachers that they teach all remote classes. And so I'm able to still engage with students because I can co-teach, with that teacher and still be able to have that connection with students. So it's actually been, really great. I, kind of hate how the situation happened where teachers were forced, to have to, use to go remote and be able to teach that way. But, it provided, me an opportunity to really kind of jump in there and really support, kind of, show what I know. So it really propelled what I was, what our department was trying to do anyway, which was really get teachers to that point. So, I mean, it's been really great. And, I use a lot of email to reach out to my teachers. So I'm constantly, reaching out to teachers, just seeing how they're doing, because, I'm sure, this is a time where a lot of people can struggle alone, and I don't want anyone to do that. So I make sure that I'm reaching out, how are you doing? What's going on? What's new? What challenges are you facing right now? Let's see if we can find some strategies that can help alleviate that. So I do a lot of co-planning with teachers as well to just kind of help, get them through. And, I find that, they just appreciate someone checking in on them. Sometimes even if they don't need the help, they just appreciate someone checking in on them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that connection is the hardest part of all this shelter in place, is that people are lacking that connection. But it's good that your group was laying the groundwork for a couple of years before they actually needed it full time. So that's really wonderful. That's a lot of research ahead of time, and planning content and stuff like that. That's awesome.
Yes. So we were, like I said, we were definitely ready to go. Even, before schools started shutting down, we were providing resources in preparation for that, because a lot of the schools in the area that we were supporting had about a week before, they went full remote. And so we had that time to spend with them in their, PLCs, getting them resources, getting them prepared so that they had something to start with, and then supporting them like along the way.
Awesome. Have you been able to, this is kind of off the track, but yesterday, might have been the day before, Google had their Learning with Google announcement about moving from G Suite for Education to Google Workspace for Education. Lots of changes. Are you taking the time to sift through that, or are you kind of waiting till it falls out, or is it not really going to change too much? Or how is that going to affect y'all?
Well, for me, I have not really dug into it as much. A lot of the schools that I support are actually Microsoft. So, of course, it doesn't, a lot of places are one or the other. They're either Google or they're Microsoft. There's, very few places that are trying to use both. And so with that, my, main priority in keeping, on top of things is with Microsoft. So I do a lot of Microsoft trainings. I recently became an MIEE. And so we have like monthly meetings where we get together to kind of stay on top of things. So I'm a little more involved in that, although I do still do a lot of Google training. So I can't just, totally leave it to the side. But it's, I have to juggle both, honestly. I have to juggle both. So it is something that, I definitely plan to get into and, make sure, up on things. But, right now, my focus is, making sure that, the teachers that I support who are using Microsoft, have, the necessary strategies using that tool, because that's a tool that they have to use.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, you got to use the tools that you're provided well, whatever it is. And I am a firm believer in that one too.
Yes, exactly. I
Excellent.
mean, I love Google, and Google is my go-to tool, but I can't go against, what a district
Sure.
is saying that they're going to use. So, I have to do both. I have to do both.
I have got a question, something you said about earlier. So you studied to become an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were becoming an engineer, why did you not think about becoming an educator? And when you did become an educator, why did you change profession?
Believe it or not, it's kind of crazy. Education actually was my first profession of choice. So as a kid, I actually wanted to be a teacher. Teachers really do make such an impact on students that, they may never be told that, but I just know from personal experience that the impression that the teachers left on me was so great that at that time, 6th, 7th grade, I knew then that I was going to be a math teacher. So it was just something that I always wanted to do. But as I, continued through my secondary education, I always gravitated towards math and science. Those were definitely my strong suits. But I was told, I won't necessarily say by who, but that I probably should not be an educator because of my personality, because I have a very meek and mild personality. I was told that I should not be an educator.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I actually took that to heart. And so in high school, I decided that I would pursue another profession. And that profession became engineering because I still love math and science. So it was kind of natural for me. And I had a teacher who basically helped me through that, who basically encouraged me. She was, actually, now that I think about it, she was a teacher who also encouraged minorities and females to go into engineering. Maybe I got it from her, I don't know. But now that I think about it, I was actually encouraged, as a female and as a minority to go into engineering. And that's what I did. So I went into engineering. I worked as an engineer for maybe 12 years. And, as I stated earlier, it was actually pretty lonely. I mean, I can remember I worked in the automotive industry. So, it was kind of, that's definitely kind of a man's world.
Yeah.
And I worked in manufacturing. And I can remember late nights being in a Ford plant in Michigan and being the only female in the building. And it's actually pretty scary. I mean, I literally remember being in the Mustang plant in Dearborn and just walking through there. It's kind of dark. It, to me, just the memory, it was just kind of eerie. But I felt like there has to be representation here. I have to be here. So I persevered. I moved on. I did my job. And I tried to represent, females and minorities, the best that I could, so that, other people would see, that, all engineers don't have to be men. So,
right.
So, I did that. And I love, being an engineer, but the longing to be an educator was actually still there. It was always still there, because even as an engineer, I find myself doing a lot of trainings, training adults, but still training, still teaching,
Right.
Teaching math, in fact, because I was a quality engineer. And one of the strategies that you use as a quality engineer is this process called statistical process control. And so that's basically just teaching math. So I taught math, as an engineer. But after my son entered into school, that really was kind of the turning point. I really had more of a desire to know what was going on in the school system, being there for him, being on the same schedule, and things of that nature. So my husband and I both engineers, so it's kind of challenging to have two, engineers in the parent. We're both traveling, you have to consider those type of things. And when your children start, to be school age, you sometimes you just have to make the difficult decisions. And so we made that decision that one of us had to, kind of get out of engineering. And since I always wanted to be a teacher, I thought, man, this could be the opportunity for me to do what I always wanted to do. And that's what I did. I just went through like a certification program. I already had the background, so it wasn't a matter of the knowledge. It was just a matter of the pedagogy and getting those skills to be able to go into the classroom. And so I, took that opportunity and just kind of never looked back.
Wow.
That's
So
awesome.
it was really the best decision for our family, but it was also fulfilling that dream that I wanted to be a math teacher.
Yeah. Inspiring. So we're in the month of March, where we're going to be promoting STEM for girls. And I mean, us three are examples to inspire others. So what kind of message would you give to our young listeners about going into STEM?
To be brave, to go for it, because I was kind of told, just those STEM fields that, when I looked at it, I didn't see myself in it, but you have to start somewhere. We can't let that be the barrier. And now there's so many more resources out there now for girls to go into STEM fields that, I mean, why not? Take advantage of it. I mean, it's definitely, an awesome field, especially when you love the math and sciences. It's, a great outlet. I mean, I loved it, and I kind of miss it, but I also felt like I needed to be in the position to get more people there.
Yeah, but I feel like there's still the fear in girls that they don't. So we need to push them.
Yes.
We need role models.
They need to be pushed.
Karen and out there.
Yes, push. They need encouragement as well. Because the more, we see other females in the field, in those STEM fields, that's going to encourage, others. But you also have to kind of put yourself out there as well. Let people know what you're doing. So, putting the things that you're doing out on social media is also important, because that's where our young people are. So once they see, others out there via social media, then they think, oh, okay, it is possible. And I mean, I feel like we're living, in the age of possibilities, because, we're breaking down major barriers.
Right.
Yeah.
You learned so much being an engineer and going through and following that. I mean, because that's not an easy bunch of coursework. My daughter started going into engineering, and she was one of 2 out of 100 in the program. She and one other female. But what is so cool about what you've done is that you went through and you had your engineering career, and it changed you and probably made you more of a go-getter. It made you set a goal, realize that goal, and then go with what you were passionate about all along. and it, you know, that changed you and helped develop you into a better teacher. So I think that's, I'm so happy you shared that with us, because we tend to lose girls about middle school
Mm-hmm.
in math and science and just the general STEM fields. And so um, you're you're such a great role model, Miko.
Thank you. And honestly, I think that's maybe why I picked middle school, because I knew that that was that time when we would start to lose girls in the math and the sciences. And honestly, that's like the only age range that, you know, I've ever really wanted to teach because of that. And I also, you know, as a math teacher, wanted to make sure that I was in schools where I could have like the most impact as well. So, you know, I made sure that, you know, I went to schools that, you know, had a population, you know, all schools going to have, you know, a population for boys and girls, but I also made
Yeah.
sure that I went to schools that had minorities,
Yeah.
because I feel like they needed to hear that firsthand message. Hey, I was an engineer. Don't think just because you are where you are, your socioeconomic situation, that you can't make it to be an engineer, that you can't go to college. I'm here to tell you that you actually can. You know, I went back, like the schools that I service now, that I support, are the actual community that I grew up in.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
it's like, I could have been your neighbor, you know, your parents could have been my neighbor. So I'm here to tell you that it can be done. I'm living proof. I mean, you know, supporting the same school district that I grew up in.
Wow.
That's so cool.
And, you know, I gravitate to, you know, really supporting like the math teachers, because I have, you know, the background knowledge, and, you know, helping, like one of the teachers that I support is like a technology teacher. So, you know, she's basically kind of in with the STEM. And so I'm like, that's like a perfect thing for me, because it's like, you know, helping with the STEM curriculum, but then also technology as well, because they, you know, obviously go hand in hand. So I feel like, you know, I'm just looking back, you know, kind of full circle. I'm definitely where I need to be, you know, making the impact that I need to make.
Oh, that's so great. That's so glad. Thank you for coming on today.
No
Awesome.
problem.
Okay.
Sandy, do you have any other questions? Well, you
Well,
taught middle school for a while, or
yeah. Yeah. It's not me. I'm sorry. Middle school's not high school. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, middle school is a challenge, but and I think you can make an impact at every level. But I think just that middle school group is such a pivotal moment, especially when
yeah,
you're trying to, you know, really shape the path of students, and when you're trying to, I won't necessarily say recruit, but you're almost trying to recruit, you know, students for those STEM fields. That's the
yeah,
time to do it. That is the time to do it, because
that's
you can
so true.
really give them the exposure, you know, that they need. You know, I remember, you know, bringing in other engineering friends and, you know, having them speak to the students, because I actually was like, you know, when you have clubs in school, you know, I was always the one that wanted to do the STEM club, you know. So, because I feel like, hey, I was there, I really know, you know, that environment. And, you know, that was the time where I think the students' eyes really get open to the possibilities of, you know, going into a STEM field. It's that those middle school students that really get that exposure, you know. And when you can really take like those field trips to those
Yeah,
STEM facilities. I remember taking a group of students on a field trip and just seeing their eyes, and just they were so amazed by everything. And, you know, and then just a reflection afterwards, it's like, okay, yes, I now know what I want to do. I'm gonna, you know, go into engineering. It's like, yes.
that's awesome. And that's so true, because
No.
middle school, I taught I taught middle school English, which is like everyone hates it, but you do have a chance to show them what they can do, and they're
Mhm.
just young enough to try something new, and they're just old enough to actually make a difference, to try a big project or a huge something and take it on. And I think middle schoolers are it's kind of terrifying, but they're kind of seeing what's possible. And so I think that's also what we have to nurture in them.
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, I think back to when I just really finally decided, okay, what I want to do for my life. It was sixth and seventh grade.
Yeah.
So, it's still that middle school group that you have to reach. I know, when you tell people, oh, I'm a middle school teacher, they're like, oh, God bless you. I totally understand, but that means that you really have to be that much more passionate, that much more targeted, that much more encouraging, for those students, because that's the time when you can really make that major impact.
Exactly.
So, okay, now moving on forward, Miko. So you're doing coaching
Yeah.
to teachers. Um, okay, so how does it work?
Okay, so I work with a group of coaches, and we are basically kind of assigned to projects. And so, depending on the project, most of the time it's with like a district. Again, it could be large or small. Sometimes we do work with the state Department of Education as well. But for the project that I'm currently working on, that district, has partnered with our department to have a coach on like every campus. And so as an embedded coach is basically what we're called. We work with, the teachers like specifically on that campus. And so it's, checking in with the teachers like generally at the beginning of the year. I don't want to just throw out trainings, here you go, let's learn this, let's learn that. I actually like to kind of get a feel for, what is it that teachers want? Maybe they heard about something, or maybe there's some specific goals that they have that they need that this particular tool would help them with. So I try to, gauge and do surveys basically to kind of see, okay, what is it that you need? And then from that, I have enough information that I know who needs what, and then I can kind of plan out basically my year based off of that. And so I'm contacting teachers basically throughout the year. Hey, let me hear a little bit more about your vision or your goals for your students. What is it that you're trying to do? And then from there, we start, talking about, okay, what kind of strategies can we put in place to kind of help you get there? So it's a series of meetings, and then that turns into co-planning. And then co-planning, we're planning out the lessons, using those strategies, using the tools after I've, kind of trained the teacher on how to use the tool that's going to help to implement that strategy to get us to that goal. And then that turns into co-teaching. Maybe I have to model first how it's done, and then the teacher watches, and then I watch the teacher do it with their students. So, it's a very, kind of intimate process. I'm really partnering with that teacher. We're working together. It's not me just kind of telling them what to do. It's us, okay, well, what do you think we should do next? And, how should we pivot, based on what we've just done? So it's a lot of reflecting, after we've, implemented a strategy, looked at the data, how is it working? Do we need to move forward? Do we need to go back? Just a lot of, communication between me, and that teacher. And then I start, kind of that cycle over again with like their next goal or the next teacher. And so I'm basically there, kind of the whole way, every day I'm there, but I also let teachers know, if you run into a problem, you're having some type of issue, hey, just give me a call real quick. So there's a lot of flexibility in that as well. Just, knowing in the back of their mind, hey, if, I can be brave, I can step out there, I can get out of my comfort zone a little bit, with these strategies and the technology, because I know, hey, if I need some assistance, I need some support. Oh, Miss Wagstaff is going to be there, and she's going to come in and she's going to help support me and get me to a point where I feel very comfortable, being able to use this strategy and this tool. So it's a lot of, building the capacity, and then at the end saying, hey, well, now that you know all of these things, how would you feel about helping someone else, and then, building their capacity even further, because now they're helping someone else.
Yeah. How can others get involved in this?
Right. So we do have a website. It's iTeach.kennesaw.edu. And on that website, we share resources and strategies, really for anybody. They don't necessarily have to partner with us. We just make sure that we provide those resources and strategies for all teachers, for all educators. And on that website, we also do have a chat window. So like if someone had a question right then and there, they can actually get on that chat, and we have coaches that, are monitoring that chat like all the time. So if it was like a district that wanted to partner with us, they can contact us through that chat. Or if it was just a teacher, individual teacher that needed some support, again, they could contact us through that chat. We also are on social media, like everybody else, and we provide our resources and strategies on there as well. Like every month, for example, we have Twitter chats where we're trying to engage with the community and just kind of, trying to have that conversation around personalized learning and strategies and tools. So like our theme for this month is around literacy. Like we love literacy. So how can we, improve our, literacy strategies in education? What type of strategies are we using? What type of tools are we using? So like those types of things. So like March, a lot of schools are getting ready for their state testing. So we'll be starting to have conversations around celebrating the successes of students that they've had, up to this point during this year. And then, what types of strategies do we want to use in review, getting them ready for, the testing that they will have coming up. So on social media, we're on all the social platforms. It's just at KSU iTeach. So our website is iteach.kennesaw.edu, and then on social, it's just at KSU iTeach.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then I also put the link to the Wander Open Roads.
Oh, nice. And then if people want to, engage with me on social media, I'm just at Miko Wagstaff, on social media. So.
Yes. I'm so happy you came on to talk to us about important things. One of the things that brought Sandy and I together in discussion is girls in STEM, and trying to encourage them and keep them. And we had a group of the three of us who did a TED talk on. It wasn't accepted, but it was called Girls Can. And so it was a great time to do some research and to discuss the challenges. And I'm so happy that you're here to bring that up again. And we're going to feature you in March.
Well, I really appreciate that. I mean, the work that you're doing, the message that you're getting out, it is really important, especially to, keep the movement going, with women getting more, girls into those STEM fields. It is really very important. Representation is important.
Yes, absolutely.
Subscribe, Miko. Pass it on to your family. Subscribe.
Yes, I'm very jealous. I saw that you have 2,000 followers plus on your YouTube channel, but we're not quite up to that level yet, but we're getting there.
Yes, we're definitely trying to grow our channel. And one cool thing that we actually have coming up here pretty soon, next month actually, is I don't know if you've ever heard of Campgrounds of America, KOA.
KOA, yeah.
KOA Campgrounds, where they are actually sponsoring a trip for us, where they are going to be following us on one of our journeys.
Oh, how fun.
Yes, we're doing a lighthouse tour up the East Coast, starting at Cape Canaveral and kind of going up the East Coast. We're visiting, I think, like 10 lighthouses, and KOA is coming along with us on that journey. We're going to be staying at KOA's like the whole time. So I am so excited. And we're going to obviously feature it on Wonder Open Roads.
Chat with Candy and Karen. You've got to
That's
get us
right. Keep us posted.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I've got an official closing. Unless there's something else that you wanted to say that we missed, that KOA opportunity sounds fabulous. Is there anything you wanted to add, Miko?
Again, I just wanted to thank you ladies for having me on today. I really enjoyed the conversation. This was so much fun. And like you said before, it's like a mini reunion.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking your time to chat with Sandy and me. We're very honored that you've shared your experiences with us, and we appreciate your efforts on the behalf of girls and STEM and teachers and just people, humans everywhere. Thank you to all the listeners out there too. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at chatwithsk1. It's chat WSK1. Find us and subscribe to our channel on Spotify, Google, and Apple, and to hear more about what is going on in education on both sides of the pond. So there we have it. I think that's a wrap. Thank you again, Miko. You're the greatest. And Sandy, you're the greatest. And see you all later next time.
Yeah, wait.